The following is an exclusive presentation of the Yes Network.
On this edition of the two-time Emmy Award-winning Forbes Sports Money, the Spartans prepare to invade Olympus.
If ping pong is in the Olympics, if curling is in the Olympics, Spartan will be in the Olympics.
And the football world prepares to sack New York.
New York is going to be the big winner here. People are going to party here, go to the events here, and then go to the game in New Jersey.
But the great state of New Jersey wants to make sure it gets its piece of the loot.
Is this a New York or a New Jersey Super Bowl?
We're trying to make it both.
Those stories and more begin right now. And hi, everybody. Welcome to the latest edition of Forbes Sports Money. I'm Bob Lorenz, joined as always by my co-host Michael Ozanian of Forbes Magazine, and also with Sal Galatioto of Galatioto Sports Partners, here to help us start things off with our State of Sports discussion brought to you by SAP. Now, Sal, there are some small pieces of big teams out there for sale. What's behind that?
I think right now there's a real dearth of control sales taking place. The economy obviously makes these investments attractive. Money's very cheap. This is an alternative investment to putting money in the stock market. And so you're seeing these pieces sell at very, very significant valuations. I think Vivek Ranadive, who is the main owner of the Kings, sold his stake in the Golden State Warriors at a very high valuation. Shaquille O'Neal, I should say, just bought a piece of the Kings. You saw Jay-Z sell his interest in the Nets. And you're getting a lot more interest in these assets because really there isn't much out there in terms of control sale right now.
All right, so if I have a big bag of $20 million, most of it would actually be Michael's, but if I had that right here and I came to you and I said, Sal, can you find me a piece of maybe an NFL or an NBA franchise to buy? Could you find me something?
Yes, right now we could. Valuation might be a little high, but you definitely could get into the league that way. And that's a good way to build profile, get the leagues to know you, and then when Mike really hits it big and has a couple of $1 billion, you could buy a control piece.
So if I understand what's going on here, because of the Federal Reserve keeping interest rates at rock bottom levels, credit is incredibly cheap. You've had all these financial investors, hedge funds, private equity. They've made a fortune. Guys like Josh Harris, who bought the New Jersey Devils recently. And really, you don't see owners coming out and selling majority stakes of teams because the values are going up. You got the NBA's next TV deal could double. They're saying right now it averages $930 million a year. The next deal could average more than twice that. So you got the guys who control it. They want to stay on, yet they want to monetize some of it. And, you know, you mentioned the piece of the Golden State that Ranadive sold. That's an $800 million valuation. Jay-Z sells his small piece of the Nets. Very small piece, I know. Yeah. Maybe not a perfect proxy, but it was still a $750 million valuation. So you got the prices going way up. So what a smart thing for a majority owner to do right now, sell a tiny piece.
Look, when money's free, asset values go up. Right? And now everybody's getting a little bit nervous about what the Fed is going to do, what's happening in the stock market. This is a great alternative investment. It's not an investment that's correlated with the stock market in any way. You put money into it, you leave it there, you can leave it there for a long period of time. And historically, and you know, we never know what's going to happen in the future, when you go to sell out, look at the valuations these people are getting. I mean, they're huge profits on their little pieces that they're selling.
All right. Now, the NFL, as we know, super strong. Don't know what teams are going to make it to the Super Bowl, but when it happens, it's going to be at MetLife Stadium in East Rutherford, New Jersey. And, Michael, when that happens, what are we talking about in terms of dollars? Biggest event ever because it's attached to New York City?
Well, it certainly is going to be for the networks because we've seen Fox, which is showing the game. They've already sold out 95% of their inventory. It's the fastest that's happened in any Super Bowl they've shown. This would be the fourth one since 2002. We're also seeing a doubling of ticket prices. But I'm kind of getting the feeling as I'm reading about the events and where they're going to be, like the NFL Live Week is going to be in Broadway in Manhattan, that seems like the big winner here is going to be New York City, not really the local New Jersey economy.
Well, I don't think there's any doubt about that. I think New York is going to be the big winner here. People are going to party here, go to the events here, and then go to the game in New Jersey. But for the league, it's phenomenal having the game in New York. I understand that people worry about the weather and other things, but as an international showpiece, New York is the place in North America, right? We could argue it's the international capital of the world. And if you want to attract more foreign viewers, more prospective foreign buyers, more interest internationally. New York is a perfect place to hold this game.
Does the NFL welcome that kind of foreign? Do they want more foreign interest or foreign investment, you think?
I think both. I mean, look, the NFL is making a big effort in London. It's making a big effort to grow the sport outside the United States. I think the right foreign buyers, would be welcome in the league. So I think this is a win-win. And look, there's no shortage of buyers for NFL teams. The problem is the prices are going up to the point where the pyramid is so narrow where people can afford them that sooner or later you're going to have to look outside the United States, or you're going to have to change the corporate ownership rules. Because these assets, I mean, some of the top teams, close to $2 billion in value. I mean, that's tough for an individual to write that kind of check.
Listen, the Super Bowl, guys, as we know, does not lack for interest. But, Sal, how different do you think it is knowing that it's essentially in New York City? All the events will be, Fox will broadcast from Times Square, rather than, let's say, Indianapolis. If somebody from Miami wants to go to the game, where do they want to go?
Look, I think Indianapolis did a phenomenal job with the Super Bowl, and kudos to them. But it's never going to be New York. And I think New York is going to draw visitors from all over the United States and all over the world. I mean, this could be a turning point for the league. I mean, people don't like to talk about doing things in outdoor stadiums in bad weather. But I think New York has such a draw to it internationally that if this works out well, they may reconsider and do it again in New York. And
it is going to be a week-long event. You guys both do a lot of business in the city. Do either of you want to be in the city Super Bowl week, trying to get around?
Not unless I'm going to the game, I think.
That's a tough one. Yeah, that's a real tough one.
All right, don't go away. We've got more Super Bowl talk up next when we sit down with the founders of 16W Marketing. And later on, we'll take a look inside the Spartan race, which is attracting some major sports money on its quest to become an Olympic sport. When we return on Forbes Sports Money. And welcome back to the show. MetLife Stadium is the home of the New York Jets and New York Giants football teams at its location in East Rutherford, New Jersey. Now, much like those teams, the Super Bowl that will be played there at the end of this football season is being associated with New York. So where does that leave New Jersey? Enter 16W Marketing, the agency named after the East Rutherford exit on the New Jersey Turnpike and founded by a couple of Jersey boys named Frank Vuno and Steve Rosner. Vuno and Rosner are longtime marketers, consultants, and top-tier sports agents, and they have cornered the market on representing elite broadcasters. Football fans may recognize some of the talent they do business for, including Chris Collinsworth, Howie Long, Phil Simms, and Boomer Esiason, one of their first clients.
Together, those two have really created what I think is the place to be if you want to be in sports broadcasting, because they have the relationships. And, I think of the Italian grandfather, the Jewish grandfather. They get together, they fight, and they create Las Vegas. You know what I'm saying? So we're like the Las Vegas of sports broadcasters, I think, in terms of an agency.
Michael Ozanian took a trip to 16W in order to find out what kind of Super Bowl advice they're giving the businesses they consult for, as well as their home state of New Jersey, as a Super Bowl of opportunities comes their way.
Is this a New York or a New Jersey Super Bowl?
We're trying to make it both, from Thursday to Saturday, which a lot of this corporate, traditional NFL sponsor business will happen in the city. From Monday to Wednesday prior to it, I think Jersey has a shot of doing and creating their own opportunity then before the league really kicks off. And then when Sunday comes, it's all going to be New Jersey, in my opinion. I think this will be a Super Bowl that will be attended by the most first-timers ever. I think that come later in the week that there'll be tickets available to go to this game. Because I think a lot of the corporate people who go every year, who fly every year, might have this opportunity to stay home and watch the game. Going to the facility, they probably go to multiple times during the year already for the Jets and the Giants. So I personally think that the ticket will be tough, but maybe not as tough as it's been in the past.
Yeah, but they're going to pay so much for it, they might feel bad about just giving it away. So, it's going to be the most expensive, leading up to it, it's going to be the most expensive ticket ever, by far.
What do you think the most challenging aspect of the Super Bowl is?
The first answer that everybody's going to say is going to be weather, but I really don't think that that's the case. I think managing New York and managing expectations. I went to Indianapolis and they had greeters there, and they all wore scarves to identify themselves, and their slogan was "Have a super day." So every place you went, you heard, "Have a super day." So we're crossing the street and we're waiting for a red light, and we're waiting. And finally the light turns green. We go across, and the person says, "You can cross now, folks. Have a super day." And somebody behind me goes, "If I hear somebody say 'Have a super day' one more time, I'm gonna blah, 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 blah." So of course I turn around and the guy's wearing a Giants jersey. So, so that's kind of the challenge in New York.
Well, there's no place like New York or New Jersey. Up next, this is Spartan Race. And welcome back to Forbes Sports Money. In recent years, the sport of obstacle racing has grown by leaps and bounds. Names like Tough Guy, Savage Race, Warrior Dash, Tough Mudder, and the Death Race have entered the sports business lexicon. But one entity, the Spartan Race, has seemed to find traction where others have not. The Spartan Race was founded in 2010 by the founder of the Death Race, Joe DeSena, a Queens, New York native who made a small fortune on Wall Street and decided to invest in his passion of endurance racing. 2 years after its founding, Spartan Race received a multi-million-dollar investment deal from Raptor Consumer Partners. This January, Spartan announced a partnership with Reebok. And on October 19th, NBC Sports Network will air a 90-minute special based on the events of the Spartan Race Championship held this September in Vermont. In order to get a good look at this new sport with Olympic ambitions, Michael Ozanian sat down with Spartan Race founder Joe DeSena at the Forbes offices for our Sports Money profile.
Joe, what's the difference between Spartan Race and any other obstacle race?
First of all, we invented the term obstacle racing, and we're the only one approaching it from a competitive standpoint. And so what does that mean? Just like any other sport, just like the Olympics, we're timing you, we are judging you, you've got to actually complete obstacles, you've got to do them correctly, and we're ranking you at the end of the day. And so anybody else in the space is approaching it more like a birthday party, an event, a celebration. We're approaching it like a sport. We want to be in the Olympics someday.
Have you ever had any discussions with anybody in the Olympic Committee about making this an Olympic sport?
We have. We have a couple of friends over in Switzerland that have been working on it, and we know the rules that are required to play the game. We've got to have governing bodies in a certain amount of countries. We've got to be located in a certain amount of countries, and everything we do, every decision we make, is toward that goal. We want to be an Olympic sport. If ping pong is in the Olympics, if curling is in the Olympics, Spartan will be in the Olympics.
Where did you get the idea to start Spartan Race?
You know, we wanted to create something different, unlike any other event in the world, something that purposely broke people and brought them back down to a place where you had to break through obstacles and mentally and physically, and in doing so you'd build something we termed obstacle immunity. So the coffee being cold in the morning, or the car not starting, or the children screaming would no longer be that big of an obstacle, because what we put you through reset and recalibrated your life, and you were like, you know what, coffee being cold, no big deal. Kids screaming, no big deal. What I dealt with yesterday was a big deal. And so that was the direction. We had no idea at the time that 650,000 people would come out globally to compete this year. And so it's become much bigger than we ever anticipated.
How risky financially was this for you, being that you put up most of the money to get Spartan Race going?
Well, we said day one I was not going to invest more than $50,000. That was absolutely the cap. That turned out to be far from the truth, as usually most businesses tend to do. And it got to a point where